to Cosmopolitan Christ Church, India. We are at Cosmopolitan Christ Church, work together with Christ to spread the gospel, nothing but God's power, which can save the spiritual lives of Indians, Americans, British, German, Russian, and the Asians throughout the globe. We are at Cosmopolitan Christ Church, India, loves to serve and accommodate struck up foreigners in India without taking a single penny. Call us for more details to the number 7386005545.
Heed the warning, not the blessing. Welcome back to Cosmopolitan Christ Church live streaming. We are at the end of the month. God blessed us, cared us, protected us from the first of this month to this 28th of this date. Dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members, God is always loving us, and we as a Christians, as believers, we have to follow Him. And today I was at your screens with a new dimensional God's message titled, Heed the warning, not the blessing. As you all know, the meaning of heed means paying attention. Paying attention. Today God is asking us, God is asking you and God is asking me that for what you are paying attention. Are you paying attention for the blessing? Or are you paying attention for the warning from God? If you see in Bible, there are so many blessings. At the same time, there are so many warnings also. But in our Christian lives, in our believers' lives, in our faithful lives, we always get attracted to the blessings mentioned. We always pay attention to the blessings told. Dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members, it's always good, it's always better to pay attention to the God's warnings than the blessings. It's always better to pay attention to God's warnings than the blessing, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. If you pay attention to the warnings of the God, if you obey the warnings of the God, if you follow the warnings of the God, automatically the next step is blessing from God. But you skip the first step and you try to jump onto the second step. But it's not possible, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church member. You always cannot skip first step, that is the warning. You have to obey, you have to accept, you have to hear. You have to pay attention to the warnings of the God, and you have to implement or take care of the warnings in your lives so that God will bless you. Dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members, if you pay attention to blessings, you always live in a fear of losing it. So I am talking about the blessings and the warnings. And now I am telling you, as we are all Christians, as we are all believers, as we are all in the faith process, if you are paying 99% or 10% attention to the blessings given by God, you always live in fear throughout your life, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church member. Yes, that is correct. That is correct, because once the blessings are getting started in your life, you think that you will plan accordingly. Otherwise, you will think accordingly that I have to secure those blessings. I have to protect my blessings. Otherwise, I have to develop or flourish my blessings. That's why you always in a fear. Maybe I may lose my blessings from God. So you always in fear if you have blessings. But if you have warnings along with the blessings, means you have a brave life in your life, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. But today, what is the life we are leading? We always struggle for the blessings and ignore our, otherwise delete the warnings from God. Fearing God's warnings is always better than blessing, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. The warnings which God will give us is always better for our spiritual health, faithful health, believership health, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. Blessings has terms and conditions, but warning don't have any hashtags. You obey them and you overcome them. See, God is talking to you right now, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. God, from starting itself, to David, to Solomon, to everybody, He gave blessings. But at the same time, He has given some terms and conditions. If you can see in an advertisement, if you can see a product advertisement, they mentioned a free. Buy one, get one free. And in that, one star mark will be there. And that star mark will show that terms and conditions apply. So, in this also, if you want blessings, you have to bear the terms and conditions also from God. But if you accept warnings, you don't have any terms and conditions. You don't have any terms and conditions, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. Warnings comes freely, and if you obey them, everything will come freely, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. And if you see scriptures, Matthew's 10th chapter, 33rd word. Matthew 10th chapter, 33rd words. Whoever disown me before others, I will disown before my Father in heaven. See, what is disowning? What is disowning, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members? God's warnings. If you are disowning God's warning before others, and God is going to disown you before Father. So this is the most important thing we have to remember regarding warning. So if you want God to remember you before Father, you have to obey, otherwise you have to warn the warnings of the God, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church member. Are you warning the warnings? Or still you are struggling hard to warn the blessings itself, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members? Blessings will be there always, but at the same time, blessings are always temporary. Blessings will be there for you always with some terms and conditions. If you always fulfill those terms and conditions, blessings will be always with you. So don't think that blessings alone you want to keep it for your lifelong, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. If you go to 2 Corinthians 4th chapter 18th verse. 2 Corinthians 4th chapter 18th verse. Since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is permanent. What is unseen is permanent. If you can employ these words in blessings and warnings itself. Since what is seen is temporary, that means blessings we can see. With the blessings developments we can see. With that blessings we can see the flourishments. But all those are temporary until and unless you fulfill the terms and conditions of the God. But what is unseen is permanent. That means the warnings you follow of God, the God's warnings you follow, nobody can see. Nobody can see. God will tell you that you have to obey me, you have to follow me, you have to make me happy. All these things nobody know, but if you are obeying those words, automatically, maybe those things are unseen to anybody, but God is going to bless you. God is going to make you a mega personality, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. So, blessings has terms and conditions, but the warning will come with no hashtags. No hashtags. So you can have them freely, and you with that warnings, you can have the blessings freely, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. Don't ignore warnings. We are forgetting about warnings because we don't see what kind of miracles that warnings can do in our life. We are ignoring, we are forgetting God's warnings in our lives. That's why we are not able to develop from one stage to another stage. So many times we feel in our lives, till now we had so much of development. We had developed in a fantastic way. We developed vigorously. We developed very fastly. But once we reach this stage, why we are not developing from this stage? It's not that we are not developed, but we developed, but we standardized our development at one stage because of our ignorance. That means ignorance of warnings leads to stagnant blessing, stagnant development. There was no movement in your development. Although you develop, but you will be there in the same stage forever. So if you accept warning, if you implement warning, now you again start developing. So if you want to reactivate your development, if you want to reactivate your blessings, you need warnings in your life. If you see a chemical reaction, if you want to take a reaction between two chemical compounds, these two chemical compounds don't react directly. You need a catalyst. You need a catalyst to make these chemical compounds react to each other. So in the same way, we need a warning catalyst in our lives, in our faithful lives, so that we can reactivate our lives, rejuvenate our development, regenerate our flourishment, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church member. Trust in the Lord. See, if you go to Proverbs, 3rd chapter, 5th verse. Proverbs 3rd chapter, 5th verse. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. Do not lean on your own understanding. If you are loving blessings, you may lean directly to the blessings itself. Leaning is not an agenda in developing in spiritually, developing faith in faith. In our personal lives also, in our personal careers also, we must not lean on anybody. Leaning leads to underdevelopment. Leading leads to the losing. Leaning leads to losing, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. So if you have blessings with you, you may lean. But if you have warnings in your life, you are going to have the power of God, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. So leaning should not be or must not be there in our faithful lives. We must only lean on God. But what we are doing, we are leaning on the blessings, but we are not leaning on blesser. Blessing and blesser. On whom we are leaning? 99%, 100%, we are leaning on the blessings, but we don't lean on. Otherwise, we don't urge, we don't get support from the blesser. Who is the blesser? God is the blesser. We are ignoring blesser, but we are giving importance to the blessing. How much ignorant we are. Today God is talking to you. You must pay attention to the warning than the blessing. Forget about blessing. Till today, in all your life, maybe you are praying, maybe you are worshipping, maybe you are gospeling for the blessings of God. But today God is talking to you, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. Forget about blessings, but remember about the warnings. That is good for your health. that is good for your spiritual health, that is good for your faithful health. Dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church, whoever disown me before others, that means whoever disown my warnings in others, I will disown before Father. That is the thing, so simple. And the second thing, since what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is permanent. So blessings are permanent until and unless you are not following terms and conditions which comes along with the blessing. But warning may not be seen in our direct lives, but that will play a vital role in our personal and spiritual development. And in the third point, trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean. Leaning is not permitted. Leaning is not encouraged in faith process, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church member. So God is talking to you right now that heed the warning, not the blessing. So I urge all the Cosmopolitan Christ Church members, request all the Cosmopolitans and pray all the cosmos that you just from today onwards forget about blessings. Blessings are always with us. But now you have to start working. You have to start making things along with the warning, dear Cosmopolitan Christ Church members. In that way, God will bless us and flourish us. And this is Kumar signing off from Cosmopolitan Christ Church live streaming. I will be back tomorrow with a newer dimension of God's message. Until then, be safe, be precautious. God bless you. God bless you abundantly. Thank you so much.